walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
So there's a rule of life that said you're either growing or you're dying.
And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again.
Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?
Welcome to the Lou Holtz podcast. We're very fortunate and blessed today to have an outstanding gymnast with us. Her name is Sophia Campana. She's an Italian-American gymnast who began gymnastics in Colorado at the age of 3. Training over 30 hours a week led her to reach the highest level of competition in gymnastics in 2005 and became the Colorado floor exercise champion in 2011. She continued her career by earning the American highest team champion. At 15, Sophia moved to Italy, her grandparents' homeland, where she competed for 3 years in there. In 2021, she became an Italian parallel bar champion, and she is just an outstanding individual, had tremendous success, so we're really blessed to have Sophia. And Sophia, thank you very much for joining us. And the main thing we want you to do, have a good time and enjoy it. My first question to you, Sophia. You began gymnastics just 3 years old in Colorado. What first drew you to the sport and made you fall in love with being upside down so many times? But more importantly, you had to love it to be able to put in the amount of hours it took to reach the top level of gymnastics. So what really motivated you to do that?
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. And pleasure to be on this call with you, Coach Holtz. So happy to be here. And an awesome first question, what made us fall in love with the sport? Because I agree with you. And in order to put in this kind of work, you have to totally love it. And I fell in love just playing. I was in a preschool and was with my cousin, Alex Campana. And I wanted to be like her. So I started gymnastics too. And I love the freedom of expression that the gym allowed. I love to get out all of my energy, jumping on all of the objects and mats and into the pit. And it really just felt like play. And play turned into my favorite hobby, and a hobby then grew into a passion with the investment of time and work put into it.
Well, training 30 hours a week at such a young age becomes an incredible disciplined individual to do that. How did you stay motivated throughout the intense early years?
Yeah, yeah. If I'm being totally honest, there were a lot of tears. Um, I actually begged my parents to do more hours, and they were kind of holding me a little bit back because they wanted to make sure that I was getting a balance of social life as well as, just not becoming burnt out with the sport. But I wanted to do more and more and more. And as we added hours, it did get hard. There were days where I was just tired. I was just, a kid, and I was just tired. And the what kept me returning was the remembrance of how much fun I had. It truly was coming back to the main purpose of this is to have fun. And that has helped me stay in this all the way to today is remembering, this is very hard work, but it's fun work. And this is why we're doing it.
Well, training 30 hours a week at such a young age takes incredible discipline. How did you stay motivated through all this when other people are playing with dolls and things like that? How did you handle it?
To be honest, I was obsessed. I would sneak out of my bed at night and go into my basement where I had a little balance beam and would practice because I had this crazy hunger for getting better. I just wanted to do more and more, and it was just an intrinsic, I like to call it my fire within. It was just an intrinsic motivation that I had at a very young age. I would describe it as a fire, a hunger to do more work, get better, because I believed in myself, and it was fun.
I have a feeling no matter what you'd done, you would have been successful because of your attitude. However, in 2005, you became the Colorado Floor Exercise Champion, which is no small feat. What do you remember most about that moment, and what has it meant for you along your journey?
Yeah, that was a wonderful moment because up until that point, I felt talented, I felt good, but I didn't recognize that I was that ahead of girls around me at that age. So it was really, I would say, a confidence building moment because I started to realize, oh, I'm on the top now. That my hard work is this is it coming to fruition. This is what it's like to feel your hard work coming to fruition, and I am good enough to win.
What do you remember most about that event?
Yeah, it really was a turning point for my confidence. When you're putting in so many hours, sometimes you don't recognize the progress being made. And so to have uh, a cherry on top of the cake moment like that, the reward is quite satisfying.
Well, you went on to win the American High Beam Championship in 2013. How did that achievement shape your confidence as an athlete?
Yeah, so that moment, definitely confidence building. And also, the week before that competition, I was facing, we call it a mental block in gymnastics, where I um, just couldn't do any of my skills mentally. So I did a week I did no beam routines that whole week going up to national championships. And I kind of shut down, I froze. And when I got on the beam at nationals, it came back down to, let's have some fun. And I remembered that I actually loved doing beam. And when I focused on, oh, I actually really enjoy doing beam, it was my best routine and ended up being a national title. But it was just kind of, my coach and I kind of laughed it off afterwards because we're like, wow, I was so worked up about this. And when you just have fun, your best comes out.
Well, at just the tender young age of 15, you made the bold move to Italy. What was the transition like in a new country, different language, different friends, etc.? How did that affect you?
Um, so it was very tough, honestly, Coach Holtz, because the whole training system was very different from what I had grown up in. It was very much, you kind of would call it old school training style. And I was not used to it at all. So I had a very hard time transitioning into their tactics of motivating the athletes. When I was used to that more intrinsic motivation, it was more of the threatening, more of the loud voices, and it was quite a shock. I think what kept me going was talking to my parents and bringing it back to, okay, this is what's happening here, but what are my values, and how can I bring these through to finish season here?
Well, competing in the top league in Italy, and you won the parallel bar champion, which is no small feat, I might add. How did that all affect you? How did that success change you, motivate you? What was the changes you went through after this great experience of being the champion?
Yeah, thank you. That was one of my favorite moments of my career, and for sure one of the most fulfilling to this day, because I, as a 10-year-old, dreamed of just going to the country and competing, and to be on the top of the podium after so much sweat and tears and blood, sweat, and tears, literally, was kind of surreal. And at the same time, I knew I deserved it. Leading up to that competition, I kept thinking to myself, I have the potential to win gold. I have the potential to win gold. And same thing, before doing that bar routine, I thought to myself, let's have some fun. Let's have fun. Let's swing on these bars like I love to swing. And that's when my best came out. I love that.
I can tell right now that no matter what you'd done, you would have been successful because of your perseverance. Your public life began in Italy with how did being part of that show change your outlook on sports and leadership?
Yeah, that was exciting. I remember when I really started to see the impact of being a leader was something so simple. I would come into the gym with mismatched socks for fun. And I noticed that after this was shown on the MTV show, there were a lot of girls, young girls, tagging me in pictures on social media of mismatched socks. And, it's just a simple example, but it was showing me how much impact I had on these young athletes. They wanted to copy everything we did. And I was so honored to have a leadership role because I'm so passionate about my sport and hold strong values towards how we face our challenges, how we face our fears. So to be able to step up into that leadership position was such an honor and really felt true to me.
Well, how how in the world do you handle all the pressure? And what really motivated this great love of gymnastics that you've had, and you've had it since an early age? Where'd that all start?
Handling the pressure, I mean, you definitely, in my experience, I cracked a lot before I could hold it, before I could handle it. And I think that just comes with practice and experience. And in a way, you become accustomed to what that feels like to be under, 20,000 people, spectators watching you through experience. And also, I think there were many reasons I fell in love. One, play, the power of
Yeah.
play. I'd like to teach a lot to my students and my followers. And also at this point, I had become so devoted and decisive on what kind of athlete I wanted to be and what I wanted to do that it felt good to just be that devoted. I felt like I was pouring love into something every day. Still does.
Well, you have said that being a leader of young athletes was one of the most meaningful parts of that experience. What was it that really motivated that?
Mm. I think also noticing how I was growing through fears was a big motivator because I faced a lot of fears at a young age, and to see myself finally overcome them and recognize that fears don't have to be fears forever was also a huge motivator.
You get my age, something's always hurts, one way or another. But I'm going to in 2 months. I'm going to be 89, and I never thought I'd get to be that old. If I did, I would have taken better care of myself when I was younger. I'd had better habits. But that's life. You move on, and these stories with these people are incredible. But the one thing that stands out with all of them, there's a passion and a willingness to overcome adversity and depression and anxiety. That's the one thing, and I don't care who comes on this show. If they're successful, they've had to overcome adversity somewhere along the line. Sophie, your motto, the fire in your body is stronger than your fear, because we all have that. Now, how's this message influence your life and what you do and how you do it?
Yeah, I love this question. Thank you for asking. So one of my greatest battles as a gymnast was back handspring on the beam. And I used to come in and I would get upset. Sometimes I would cry. I would get frustrated. And I had a coach come up to me once who said, in order to overcome this, you have to have more want than fear. You got to want it. And what she did was put into perspective of how I was letting my fear take over all of my focus, and I was forgetting about how much I wanted. my goals. So what I started to do was visualize my dreams and them coming to fruition. And that allowed me to re-access that want, that feeling of hunger, right? And as soon as I was able to access that passion, that's when I was able to overcome that fear. So I bring that forward in any endeavor now, is if I'm feeling afraid of something, I think about, okay, but why do I want it? Because it's always going to win.
I do believe this. Many young gymnasts struggle with fear and pressure. How do you help them find confidence and joy in the sport they love?
Yeah. So something we do is we do this visualization practice that I was speaking about. I like to teach that to them, as well as we do a lot of work with self empowerment. So something that we'll do is, for example, we'll write a congratulations letter to ourselves after practice, because what I found is that a lot of athletes, and myself included, have gotten into this funk where they feel like they're never doing enough, right? And it's good to get gritty and keep wanting more and more. However, in my experience, it's much more powerful when it comes from a place of, I want to do more because I know I can, not because I feel like I'm not enough yet. And so to balance that out, we'll sit down and write a letter to ourselves and say, you made these improvements, you did this, you've come this far, congratulations on your hard work. And I found that it has such a positive effect. These girls are so motivated afterwards because they're starting to recognize that they are already achievers. And what that does is it motivates them to just continue being achievers. And the coolest part is that they're doing it autonomously. They're not waiting on a good job from a coach or an applause from a parent. It's they're learning how to auto empower themselves in this way.
Well, you balance being a gymnast, a content creator, and coach. How do those connect for you in empowering you to lead the next generation?
Yeah, I feel so honored to have this role as a leader through content, social media now. And my what I try to do really is document what my experiences are in the gym and just present them through my videos. So I found that is really effective because even more than me saying, do this, what they're doing is they're watching and they're learning based off of me experiencing it. Does that make sense? So it translates in a great way. One of the
I,
formats that
I,
I've really fallen in love with, sorry, is I try new skills, and I like to show the process of getting a new skill because it's always a mess. Like you fall a bajillion times on your head and your side and your butt, and a lot of people expect their first try to be it. So when they don't, these kids are really upset. And it's so fun to see people's reactions online of like, wow, I can't believe you have to fall on your head that many times, to do it. And I love this because I'm just showing what the day to day is, and they're learning that I can fall, and that doesn't mean that I'm a terrible gymnast. It means this is part of the process, and we're learning every time we fall how to make it better. So a fall doesn't mean I'm not good, I should quit. A fall is just part of the learning process, and let's keep trying.
well, being a physical education major, I had to take a gymnastics course. I got to tell you this. That was the hardest course I've ever had. Some of the things that we tried to do with the balance beam, the high bar, the low
Yeah?
bar, so I have nothing but admiration for the things you do. I also have not been a great advocate of proper eating habits, but nutrition plays a crucial role in the performance. How,
Yes,
how
agreed.
has the Make America Healthy Again changed the way you do things or affected the way you do things?
Yeah, so there was a time period during my gymnastics career where I did not follow a healthy eating regimen. And that really caused a lot of setbacks. not just physically, but mentally too. And thanks to that
Oh,
experience,
yeah.
I now have such a deep appreciation for our health, right? After having recognized that if you don't take it seriously, these are the consequences. You gain a deep appreciation for how when you do take it seriously, these are the benefits, and it's necessary and absolutely mandatory.
I am so happy to see the eating habits of younger people trying to be altered by this government. And I wasn't a great advocate, obviously, and I'm not very strong. But Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, who's a good friend of mine, has been a strong advocate for leadership, faith, and opportunity. How has her impact influenced the way you use your platform to empower others?
Yeah. So Brooke is awesome. My favorite part about what she has done so far has been her initiative in creating Athletes for America. And I have been involved on our group calls for about a year now. And what we do is we come together, various pro athletes from around the United States, and we talk about values, we talk about faith, we talk about how are we making a difference online. And this has impacted me and influenced me a lot because, every time we come together, it's like we get grounded together and we get strong in these values together. We feel like we're a team. And it's a way to center ourselves, as you grow on social media. Um, it can be easy, I think, to get pulled away. And so having that base, that foundation, it's like a home base. We come back to, let's get grounded, let's stick together, and let's pursue this stronger together has been so powerful.
Well, you've had so much success. What's your proudest moment so far? Not just as a gymnast, but as a mentor and a creator. What gives you the greatest satisfaction of the things you've accomplished?
That's a very good question, Coach Holtz, and a really hard one, to be honest. You know, of course, winning important competitions have a very special place in my heart, and the medals have a frame in my house. Although some of the also so cherished moments are the simple ones, such as overcoming my back handspring fear, which is something that held me back for years, and I never thought I was capable of coming over that fear, and little things like that. And I think also the moments in which it feels so hard you want to stop, but coming back, and thanks to my parents, my coaches, helping me come back to why I started. Those are my favorite moments, when you remember, I'm here because I just love doing gymnastics, and let's get back to that. And that's where the power's at. Those moments are my biggest wins.
I do know this. All your accomplishments individually are phenomenal. But I find that as you go
Thank
through
you.
life, the contribution you make to other people, enabling them to be successful, is even greater.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope so. I hope so. I love seeing young athletes find their fire, as they tell me. And it's really beautiful to see as a mentor, too, that they're learning how to self empower.
Finally, when in a time when institutions are battling cultural decay, what's your vision of how we can create more values, faith, and accountability across sports, education, and society at large? In other words, what can we do to make people more accountable for what they do?
Yeah. So, one vision that I have is, especially as a creator, an influencer, is sharing personal stories. And the reason for this is when we share personal setbacks and vulnerability, that's how we can connect. And that's how we can beat, pride wars or this versus that we connect when we share our personal stories. So I think having the courage to be vulnerable and open up is one way for bringing that connection back together.
Well, you've been an impressive young lady, and your accomplishments are impressive, not just what you've done personally, but how you've influenced other people. And it's been a pleasure to have you here today. We just want you to enjoy yourself, but thank you for the sacrifices you've made for your accomplishments and for the inspiration you've been to so many other people. And as I said, I have nothing but the utmost respect for your talents, your abilities, and your commitment that it takes to reach the top of gymnastics like you have done. So congratulations, Sophia. May God be with you, and may you have nothing but success in influencing other people in the future.
Thank you so much, Coach Holtz, for your words, your compliments, and right back at you. So much respect, and thank you for what you're doing on helping us spread our messages through your platform. It means the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we certainly appreciate you joining us for this Lou Holtz podcast. And we won't have many guests more talented than Sophia. But thank you for watching us, and I hope you'll watch the next Lou Holtz podcast. Thank you for being with us.